Nazanin ZaghariRatcliffe was brought to tears of shock and anger by Boris Johnson's inaccurate comments about the reasons for her visit to Tehran and the Iranian authorities' use of them to justify her imprisonment, her husband said on Sunday. In a description of a phone call with his wife, Richard Ratcliffe said that lumps had been found in her breasts that required an ultra-scan, that her state of mind had deteriorated, and that she was now on the verge of a nervous breakdown. He said that she felt violated by the lies the Iranian establishment had told about her activities, but also hit out at Johnson for attempting to avoid addressing the issue. She expressed anger at the guards, but also at the Foreign Secretary, that it had become such a shambles, Ratcliffe said. He added that seeing Johnson's performance at the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, in which he inaccurately said that she was in Tehran to train journalists, had left ZaghariRatcliffe angry at the original comments, angry at the footage of avoiding the question. Johnson's remarks were seized upon as a confession in the Iranian media and are believed to have left her facing an additional 5 years in prison. Despite his wife's frustration at these events, Ratcliffe added that he had held a positive phone conversation with Johnson in which the Foreign Secretary said he was deeply sorry for Nazanin's suffering. And Ratcliffe declined to join persistent calls for the Foreign Secretary's resignation, saying that in his view Nazanin's interests are not served by more instability. He went on, just as Tulip Sadiq is Nazanin's Member of Parliament, and has pushed the government, Boris Johnson is Nazanin's Foreign Secretary, her government's voice vis-a-vis Iran. Both have a crucial role in the weeks ahead to stand up for Nazanin, and finally to bring her home. The 20-minute call was the first conversation Ratcliffe had held with the Foreign Secretary or his predecessor, Philip Hammond, since ZaghariRatcliffe was imprisoned in April 2016. Ratcliffe said that the two had agreed to meet in the next few days. Ratcliffe's decision not to call for Johnson to quit appeared to give the Foreign Secretary some breathing space on another difficult day on Sunday, after Michael Gove risked further inflaming the situation by saying that he did not know why ZaghariRatcliffe had been in Tehran. Defending the Foreign Secretary on BBC One's Andrew Marr show, Gove was asked what he thought ZaghariRatcliffe was doing in Iran when she was arrested. Gove replied, "I don't know. One of the things I want to stress is that there is no reason why she should be in prison in Iran as far as I know." Those comments contradicted the government's official position that she was there on holiday. Told by Marr that ZaghariRatcliffe's husband, Richard, said that this was why she had been there, Gove said, "I take exactly her husband's assurances in that regard. Her family are the people who should know." ZaghariRatcliffe, a 38-year-old project manager with the Thomson Reuters Foundation, has been in prison since her arrest in Tehran in April last year. The charity worker was accused of plotting to topple the regime, which she denies, and later sentenced to 5 years in prison. In a wide-ranging update on her situation, Ratcliffe also revealed that she was taken to hospital on Saturday after lumps were identified in her breasts. Nazanin was taken to Iram Air Hospital, Tehran, to see a specialist and conduct an ultra, he said. New lumps had been identified in each of her breasts. Nazanin has been complaining of sharp stabbing pains in her breasts for some months. Her breasts have been painful since month 5 of her detention. She had previously been given an inconclusive mammography by the in-prison gynecologist. The specialist has told her that he believed they were likely benign, Ratcliffe said, but she has to be kept under close surveillance. Ratcliffe said his wife had told him that her mood was now uncontrollable. She loses her temper over the smallest things, he said. Everything annoys her, but she is unable to see why she gets so cross. He added that she is quick to feel like others are ganging up. She noted that she is very down, that she cannot handle all this. It is too much pressure, as she becomes part of hostile daily news. Nazanin reports feeling continually restless and out of focus, unable to concentrate on things like reading. This weekend she again suggested she is on the verge of a nervous breakdown, a perpetual sense of not knowing what to do, he said. Michael Gove left, and Sadiq Khan appear on the Andrew Marr show. Khan said Boris Johnson should resign or be sacked. Photograph Jeff Overspeed. Ratcliffe said that he was appreciative of media attention to the case in recent days and held out hope that it had focused political attention on his wife's fate. As her husband, my complaint is not that Nazanin's imprisonment has become a diplomatic incident this past week, he said. It is that it wasn't for the 19 months before. I thank everyone for their part in making that shift. Earlier, Gove's comments on the Andrew Marr show had drawn a disbelieving response from political observers. Joan Trickett, the Shadow Cabinet Office Minister, said Gove's comments were designed to protect a fellow minister, but had harmed a British citizen's chances of being freed. Boris Johnson's cavalier approach to international diplomacy is compounded this morning by Michael Gove claiming he has no idea what Nazanin ZaghariRatcliffe was doing in Iran. It has always been clear she was on holiday visiting her family. It appears Gove is more interested in protecting Johnson's job than the liberty of a British citizen in jail in Iran. Theresa May must ensure Nazanin ZaghariRatcliffe does not pay the price for her minister's bungling. One Conservative backbencher spoke for several contacted by The Guardian on Sunday who said they were angered to see Gove's defense of Johnson, which came shortly after reports that they had collaborated on a letter to Theresa May setting out their demands for how the government should prepare for Brexit. The two men famously fell out when Gove withdrew his support of Johnson's leadership campaign last year and ran himself instead. It is all about protecting his new best mate. It is as appalling as it is pathetic, the MP said. But other senior Tories backed Gove's comments. Crispin Blunt, the former chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, said why would Michael Gove know what she was doing? Far from dissembling, he was being honest. I understand this lady has joint Iranian-British nationality. They have consular rights over her. That makes the exercise of our consular rights and duties towards her even more difficult. Sadiq Khan told Mar that Johnson should resign or be sacked following his long list of gaffes as Foreign Secretary. The London mayor raised questions about Johnson's suitability for the role after renewing calls for an apology and clarification over the minister's remarks. Khan, who succeeded Johnson as London mayor, told Mar, I think it's important that Boris Johnson clarifies the huge error he made. I'm hoping he clarifies his position, apologizes and helps Richard and the family get Nazanin back home in London where she belongs.